With the release of Tokugawa and Baiki into Rise of Kingdoms, there has been quite a shift in the early game investment meta for infantry players, deciding which commanders to use and how to set yourself up for the endgame in the best way. So if you're interested in the updated infantry plan for the earliest players all the way until Season of Conquest, you want to stick around till the end of the video. Now let's start off by quickly doing the usual, that is the earliest stage of the game. There will be timestamps in today's video, so if you are at a certain part of the game, feel free to skip ahead to wherever that is. But we'll begin with the early stages. First thing to note, for your first ever commander, you want to focus on Sun Tzu. It's really easy. He is by far the best epic commander in the game, and he's going to be your best first investment. To go with Sun Tzu, you're also going to want to choose the Chinese civilization because you're going to get a ton of his sculptures for free, which will let you pick up possibly a second epic commander that you can use in the early game or even possibly going towards KVK1. So for the super early game, just to be brief, pick China and focus on Sun Tzu. Once you've got Sun Tzu maxed, you can put some epic sculptures into commanders like Bjorn Ironside, and anything like that is going to be pretty nice. But Sun Tzu should be your main goal until he's expertise. Don't really worry about other commanders. I mean, you can put some things into someone like Bjorn just to have a secondary commander or a primary commander to Sun Tzu, but Sun Tzu's AoE, once it gets to 5 targets, it's going to be ridiculously good, and the fact that you're going to get the Chinese civilization to give you more Sun Tzu sculptures is going to further boost that. The other thing to note for the early game, really focus on getting that infantry technology up. You probably want to focus on that the most, so hoping to get to at least tier 4 units and some high level on the Watt Steel and the Scutum are going to be pretty good. So focusing on infantry technology, getting your infantry units will be more important than getting stuff like siege and cavalry and archers, which you won't need in your infantry marches. So focus on infantry check, focus on infantry units, and you're going to be in a very solid position as we move further into the game. Now, moving on to KVK1, this is where you're going to get access to your first legendary infantry commanders. And quite simply put, there are really 2 main options for you. There's Charles Martel, and there is Richard I. Now, if you have to pick one of them to put some gold sculptures in, and I definitely recommend putting gold sculptures in either one of them, I would say Martel is a better pick. Not only is he a gold key commander, and you'll be able to, if you are a spender, purchase him in the daily special offer. You can buy him, I'm pretty sure, from the start of the game almost. He is more, let's say, friendly with the later commanders that you'll get in Season 2. So Charles Martel is a better pickup for KVK1. He's got a really, really good active skill, the fact that it's going to make you absurdly tanky, nice stats on the second skill, and a very, very good fourth skill where he gets a ton of counterattack. The only bad thing about Charles Martel compared to Richard is the fact that he does have a useless skill because you're not going to really need a city garrison since you would rather just use a shield. And his expertise is good, but I doubt you'll be able to reach his expertise in KVK1. So focusing on putting a good amount of gold sculptures into Charles Martel is worth it, in my opinion. If you get access to some Wheel of Fortune stuff for him, I would do it. I don't know exactly how the Wheel of Fortune is set up in the early game nowadays, but I do know gold key commanders will come in at one point, whether it's really early or towards KVK1. But Martel is the best pickup, in my opinion, for infantry commanders. Get him to 5-5-1-1, that's the first 2 skills maxed, and you're in a good position for KVK1. You can even go 5-5-1-5 if you get extra gold heads. That's skipping the 3rd skill here and going for that 4th skill because it is going to be much better than the useless 3rd skill and is going to be in a solid position. With your Martel, you'll probably just run him with a Sun Tzu because Sun Tzu is a good AoE secondary commander to Martel. Now, you'd preferably want to run Charles Martel as a primary, so try and save up a good amount of those gold stars, and you can at least get him to hopefully level 60 once you start your KVK1. If you're really struggling to get Martel up there, you can run Sun Tzu as the primary, it will work. It just won't be as good as if you did choose to run a Martel primary because he's more tanky. Outer shell will make him a bit more annoying to target. People won't see Martel and say, oh, I want to hit that march. But if they see a Sun Tzu, because Sun Tzu is notoriously a little bit squishy, they might target him more than they would a Martel. The other option to Martel is Richard I, but the reason I don't like Richard is once we move into KVK2, you're going to notice commanders like Alex and also Constantine, even though you probably wouldn't pick up Constantine, aren't going to synergize as well with Richard. Reason being, Richard is a very healing heavy commander. He's really just there to be a tanking beast, and his trades aren't the most amazing. But for KVK1, he is meta, and if you run him with a Sun Tzu, it's also going to be a really solid march. I just think that especially now with the commander swaps, and we'll get into that a little bit later, the fact that you can use a Martel and you can get him a solid skill level and then swap him later is perfectly fine to do. Not to forget, that you'll also get more gold heads of him from chests and stuff, which are going to help you out. And if you're spending money, you can get him the daily special offer a little bit earlier. So Martel, in my opinion, a better KVK1 pickup over that of Richard I, who is going to be relatively average in my opinion. The other option, if you don't want to use any gold sculptures on Martel or Richard for whatever reason, you can just run Sun Tzu with Beyond Ironside. Maybe it's a second march, maybe infantry aren't your main march. This march is pretty good. Beyond Ironside, preferably the primary, because the Conquering Tree is a little bit nicer, but you'll want to have a legendary commander, and Martel or Richard is a good option. If you have extra gold heads, possibly because you're whaling, you can pick up YSG and put him with either one of the commanders, because he's absolute meta in KVK1 and KVK2, and he's going to be really good. I just don't suggest him with Sun Tzu because it is a little bit too squishy overall. On top of this, when it comes down to the infantry in KVK1, you'll hopefully want to have some key pieces of equipment. The first one that I think is almost essential for you to pick up is going to be the Gatekeeper's Shield. Reason being, it's just ridiculously overpowered. You'll have this weapon probably until Season 3 or Season of Conquest because of how good it is. So Gatekeeper's Shield must have by KVK1. Try and get it as soon as possible since it is such a big boost. Even if you can talent that piece of equipment because it is that overpowered. Other than that, you want to just aim to have something in each slot. Generally, I recommend the Windswept set because infantry are relatively slow in KVK1, especially with Martel because Martel's march speed is locked behind his expertise. So having the Windswept set is perfectly fine, but really in the end of the day, making sure you have some equipment, preferably at around a blue level, in each slot is going to help. Windswept is probably your preferred option. You can use sentry braces as well if you are not able to get a Windswept legs, which I actually don't think you are. So keep that in mind. You can certainly get away with sentry braces for infantry. They're pretty good. Might be a bit more difficult to get access to though. But Windswept generally is going to be my main recommendation for each of your march slots. Also note that infantry get access to the Wind Scars. So if you can get that, that is pretty nice. But if not, just picking up any accessory you can put in there, whether it be Silent Trial, Delane's Amulet, or even just the Call of the Loyal, is going to be good for your march, and it's going to make it even stronger and even nicer. Another tip for KVK1, you want to focus on getting as much food and as much wood as you can. Obviously, you'll need stone and gold for building upgrades and stuff, but as you can see, tier 4 infantry only need food, wood, and gold, and a very small amount of gold. So food and wood will be your main things for healing troops in KVK1 and training more infantry when you need it. So when you need more infantry, you want to hopefully have a good stockpile of food and wood because that's the resource they're going to use to heal. Other than that, focusing on infantry tech in KVK1 and your overall city development is important because that's going to matter a lot. Even if you're KVK1, you don't get too much action, that is perfectly fine. As long as you're developing your city at a nice pace, you're going to be in a good position. A lot of kingdoms might even choose to skip KVK1 and not really fight in it. Now, obviously, that's a little bit boring, but if that is the case, don't worry. It just means you get a good head start for KVK2. The last real important tip for KVK1, use France. Unless you're VIP like 16, the healing speed is really good, and the throwing axemen along with the generic troop health is very nice. If you really want to use a better trading open field civilization, you can use Vikings, but the healing speed bonus from France is just in general going to be the best option for almost every player. So choose the healing speed bonus on France. It would be my go-to choice for an infantry civilization in KVK1 or KVK2. So I'll just put that out there. France, really good choice for early game KVKs since you're going to be struggling for speed ups and you don't really want to use too many. The more speed ups you save, the better you can do when it comes to developing your city. Now moving on to KVK2, it's not too dissimilar from KVK1. We're still focusing on relatively similar commanders in general. Only difference is we get access to Alexander the Great, and he is a must pick up compared to all the other commanders. If your Martel is a lower skill level, you should have the ability to get Alex to a pretty good skill level. Hopefully, 5-5-5-1 would be your best option, working towards that expertise as soon as you can get it, and you're going to be in a really good position. Alex with Martel is a strong march. It's fairly tanky. While it can lack a little bit in instant damage and stuff like that, Alex's second skill can make up for it with the literal instant damage factor, and the fact that they're so tanky and stat heavy makes it a really, really annoying march for someone to take out. So Martel with Alex or Alex Martel is a really solid march. I've seen people use it in KVK2 even back in the day, and not much has really changed with the early KVKs since. Alex and Martel is still a really solid March. It was a Wales choice in one of my kingdoms, and it was his best trading March, just because of how annoying it is to take down and the really good counterattack you can get out of commanders like Martel if you are able to get that third skill up, or even just in general the tankiness of Alex and the buffing it gives your allies or even your other marches if you're running more than one march. This shielding is going to be very nice. So Alex Martel is a very good go-to option. If your Martel is still a really low skill level, maybe you didn't put any gold sculptures in him, you can run Alex with Sun Tzu, and you could probably expertise Alex the second KVK to start. So that would be nice. But that being said, putting some gold sculptures in Martel is certainly fine for KVK1. It's going to help you do better in KVK1, and it's going to make Alex a stronger March. Now, if you have even more gold heads, you've probably got Alex at least at 5551, then you can consider picking up a YSG and getting him to 5515, and that's going to be probably the best March you can run in KVK1, Alex with YSG. But for most players, Alex Sun Tzu or Alex Martel is going to be your go-to. If you picked up Richard, again, you can just do Richard with an Alex or Richard with Sun Tzu and run that, but it's not going to be as effective as a Martel or a Sun Tzu with the Alex or even a YSG if you are able to do that. So Alex with any of the three commanders is going to be in a solid position, and it's going to trade the best. Make sure you don't really pick up Constantine. He doesn't really have a need in KVK2. He's pretty average, to be honest. So don't pick up Constantine. He is more of a skip for most players in almost every single situation. But Alex, a must pick up. Unless you've got Richard, you'll have to run Richard with a YSG or a Sun Tzu. Otherwise, Alex with Richard, while it can work, isn't as good as Richard with either of the other two commanders because Richard is absurdly tanky. In terms of KVK2, in terms of equipment, we're going to be looking at moving towards some epic stuff. Keep the Gatekeeper's Shield, and then look at some of the epic equipment. Try and upgrade stuff that's going to need it the most. So, for example, Witch's Lineage, not a very good pickup because you've already got a good amount of health, a good amount of attack plus the March speed on the Windswept set. So don't pick up Witch's Lineage. But when we look at some of the better things out there, such as Kurak's Humility, which is a really, really powerful piece of infantry equipment, giving you up to 8% more health, these are going to be the equipment pieces you want to focus on. Things that are giving you attack or giving you a lower stat type compared to your previous one. So for example here, infantry defense, if the boots are not giving you defense themselves or also giving you health, you don't want to get them. But you can see here, frost treads do give you defense, so you can upgrade them. But a situation like, for example, Quinn Soul, which is giving you 8% attack compared to 4.5% defense and 3% march speed, isn't really too cost effective. While it would technically be slightly better, there's no reason to really upgrade that. So focusing on equipment which will need it most, like Kurak's Humility, is going to be your go-to choice. Really, Kurak's Humility is the first piece of epic equipment, if you can help it, that you want to get. You don't really want to break up your Windswept set until you absolutely have to, because of how good the Windswept set really is. For most players, you'll probably carry the Windswept set until Season 3 and then instantly upgrade that stuff into Legendary, because most of the epic equipment for infantry is quite lackluster. Quinn Soul, it's arguably worse than the Windswept Breastplate. The gloves for infantry give you infantry health, while the legendary or the purple ones only give you infantry defense. So you'll see infantry equipment, it's never really been that amazing, but picking up the equipment pieces that will give you the best upgrade is going to be your best option. But generally, that means only the Kurak's Humility and then just working on the legendary pieces from there as you move towards Season 3. Now, moving into Season 3, this is where you get access to 2 commander swaps, and the way it works is you're going to buy a certain number of tickets depending on whatever the skill level of your commander is, and you're able to swap them with a commander that you own. There will be an event at the start of KVK 3 or the start of Season 3 that will let you get a bunch of Season 3 legendary commanders for all the troop types. But the 2 main commanders you're going to want to look at are Baiki and Liu Che. They're by far the 2 strongest commanders in the game right now when paired together, because of how ridiculously powerful they are. And the only decision you really have to make is which one is going to get a better skill level, because by this time, you are probably running 2 infantry legendary commanders. Something like an Alex with a Martel is the preferable option, and that's going to leave you in a fairly solid position, because you're going to be able to swap 2 commanders. Now, your Alex is hopefully at an expertise level or really close, and your Martel is hopefully at least 3 skills maxed. And what I would recommend is that for your Alex, who should be a higher skill level than your Martel, you want to switch him onto your Baiki. The reason being, Baiki's expertise is more valuable to him than Liu Che's expertise is to Liu Che. Baiki's skills are really important. All 4 skills are extremely important. Liu Che's 3rd skill, it's good, but it's not 100% important, because most of the stuff you can get with it being level 1. The main reason you want it is for the smite damage to trigger some other skills in his kit. So when it comes down to it, you want to look at getting Lil Chair as the lower skill level commander because he can perform better at a lower skill level, and getting Bai Qi as your first expertise commander. So in an optimal situation, you've got like an expertise Bai Qi and a 5551 or 5515 Lil Chair that you'll eventually upgrade to expertise. So that's the best situation where Alex's skills go onto Bai Qi, hopefully at an expertise level, and Charles Martel's skills go into Lil Chair and get him to a really solid level as well. That will be a really good position for you to enter Season 3. You've got a double AoE 5-target infantry march with pretty good equipment on top of it. So that's going to be perfect for Season 3. It's going to leave you in a really good position, and it's going to help you trade amazingly well. Some things to note, once you reach Season 3, hopefully you've been putting a lot of gems into your VIP. VIP is easily the most important thing in the game, especially up until about VIP 14, which is when you gain the ability to not get just 2 legendary commander sculptures a day, but you gain the ability to get 3, which allows you to expertise, I think it's 2.5 or 1.5 legendary commanders a year by just logging into the game. So that's going to be really important in getting those commander skill levels up and making your marches even stronger. So getting the VIP level up is important. On top of this, once you hit Season 3, you should have at least max tech up until getting Tier 5. So you'll probably have the troop-specific technologies at level 9, you'll have all of this stuff at level 9, and everything back here should be at level 10. So focusing on that technology for your specific troop type, of course, but focusing on at least having max infantry tech maxed out, medical corps and combined arms and encampment, and level 10 out of 10 on these 3 technologies is going to be really important. The infantry technology, so Watt Steel, Scrutum, Medical Corps, Combined Arms, and Encampment, you are only able to get to level 9 until you max out your academy, and that's a whole entire different story. So at Season 3, it's fine to not have a fully maxed out tech tree, but having it maxed out for the level 24 academy is really important, and working towards that level 25 one, rallying Barbarian Forts quite often, will help you do that, because the way it works is, whenever you take up Barber Forts, you can get some castles or Books of the Covenant to upgrade your castle, and that's going to be nice. So focusing on that once you enter KVK 3 in the efforts of getting that level 25 academy. But don't focus that over VIP. Make sure your VIP is your key focus, at least for your gems, and the castle and the level 24 academy is just something that you work on over time. The last thing to note is infantry equipment again, and I will include some Season of Conquest stuff here since Season of Conquest and Season 3 are relatively similar. You're pretty much going to want to start upgrading all the windswept stuff into legendary things, getting things like the Hope Cloak, getting things such as the Vambraces of the Eternal Empire. This stuff is going to be good, or Sacred Grips, by the way, I forgot to mention that. Infantry equipment legendary is relatively okay. It's not too overpowered, but working towards stuff that's going to be a good upgrade over your previous blue gear is important. Making sure to upgrade all your blue gear first. You'll probably have a blue helmet, blue gloves, blue boots, and also I think a blue chest plate. So those 4 pieces should be the first thing you update. You can keep the Gatekeeper shield for a while until you get the Hammer of Sun and Moon, but make sure you upgrade your helmet, upgrade your chest plate, upgrade your gloves, and upgrade your boots into the legendary tier as your main goals. Now, in the exact order, I think that chestplate is the best to get the Hope Cloak, considering before you've only got attack. Gloves are probably the last thing you want to do because the infantry health is really good. Boots will probably be the third thing you focus on because infantry boots, they're just another defense bonus, I'm pretty sure, compared to the previous defense bonus you had. And just because of that, they're going to be the third thing. And the last thing will, again, be the gloves. So focusing on them in that order is going to put you in a good position. And it's going to allow you to do pretty good in your KVKs. And the last thing you'll do is you'll get the Hammer of Sun and Moon, which is going to be the most expensive thing. And while it is an upgrade, isn't the most necessary because of how good the Gatekeeper shield is. So now the last thing to look at today is the future investment plan for you once you hit Season 3, and really once you're moving towards Season of Conquest, because you're probably going to want to branch out and make 2 or 3 infantry marches. Once you've got a Bi-Key Lil Chair, next march you want to get is a Ragnar Prime with a CPO Prime, whatever new commander has released at that time, who might be better than the other commander. So keep up to date with the newest commanders, and then after that you can split your Bi-Key Lil Chair. You can run a Lil Chair with an Alex or a new commander that might release, and a William Wallace with a Bi-Key, and you're going to be in the best position. So your 3-march ball will pretty much just become Lil Chair with Alexander the Great or a new commander that releases, Ragnar with Scipio Prime or possibly a new commander, and then William Wallace with By Key, again, unless a different commander releases that is better. So keep up to date with the commander info, but right now that is the best 3-much bull that you're probably going to work towards for most infantry accounts. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, I want to ask you guys to please consider subscribing to the channel. I update every single video guide I normally do once new commanders drop. So if you're interested in the new commander releases in Rise of Kingdoms and the changes in the commander meta, my channel is a really good channel to subscribe to. And if you find my content to be unhelpful in the future, you can always unsubscribe. But it really does help me out whenever you guys do subscribe, and it is much appreciated. Other than that, I just want to say I thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.